Hey there, and welcome back. We have mock draft season. It's in full swing. We're ready to go. I'm really excited to present the 2022 NFL mock draft to you guys. So, super exciting stuff. Number one, we have the Detroit Lions on the clock. It's really tough for the Detroit Lions because they have a quarterback situation on their hands. Do you stick with Jared Goff? Do you go ahead and draft a quarterback? Those are the questions that they have to figure out this season. He doesn't have really a ton to work around at the wide receiver room. It's going to make it a little difficult. He is going to have a nice run game with DeAndre Swift, but you also have a pretty nice tight end in TJ Hawkinson. However, in the receiving room, that is lacking. So for the Detroit Lions, I think that Spencer Rattler is going to be the overall pick. I don't know that Jared Goff will really be able to, perform at a high level with the options that he does have around him. At number two, we have the Houston Texans. I really understand that they did take Davis Mills in the class, but I don't think he is that long term solution. You're going to be picking probably number two this year. You're going to end up trading Deshaun Watson, or who knows if he's really going to be able to play football again. So, with that being said, I think Sam Howell slots in very nicely. I think both teams are going to be happy with the quarterbacks that they get one and two here. For the Texans, it's really tough with the whole Deshaun Watson situation, but ultimately they are going to be getting a franchise quarterback in Sam Howell. At number three, we have Jacksonville. Jacksonville has a lot of interesting things happening on the defensive side of the ball, but it's hard not to go Thibodeau from Oregon, the edge rusher. Definitely a premier talent in the class. You could argue is the best defender in the entire class. Him or Derek Stingley, it's very close. And then I think it's truly followed by Kyle Hamilton after watching some more film. But Thibodeau is going to make a huge impact. Him and Josh Allen, Caleb Von Chason. There's a lot of different things that this defense could throw at you if you end up taking Thibodeau. So I think it's a good fit with the current defense of Jacksonville. And this is a special player. Now at number four, we have the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles definitely have a need in the secondary. They've done a lot of nice things to help improve their roster, but I think that secondary needs some more work. And you're getting a true shutdown guy in Derek Stingley Jr. with that fourth overall pick. There's a lot to like about him as a prospect, good man guy, good instincts in zone, and he can really lock up your best receiver. So Derek Stingley to the Philadelphia Eagles makes too much sense to me. Now at number five, we have the Cincinnati Bengals. There's a couple of directions they can go. They ended up addressing the offensive tackle position in the draft with Jackson Carman. Now you can come back and really work on that defense. I think the secondary is where the focus can be. I think Jesse Bates, and then if you have him paired with Kyle Hamilton, that is a deadly duo moving forward. Two guys that are rangy that can really get after it. Kyle Hamilton can do a lot of different things. He's 6'4" as well. There's so much to like about the pairing of Bates and Kyle Hamilton. You could argue rookie season Kyle Hamilton along with Bates could be one of the top safety tandems in the league already. So really, really good start for the Cincinnati Bengals if they are able to get Kyle Hamilton in this draft. And now you have the New York Jets, and the New York Jets definitely have some interesting places that they need to address. They worked on the offense this year in free agency and the draft, but now I think the focus will reshift to the defense. Robert Saleh is going to want an impact defensive player. I think Christian Harris really gives that to them. Christian Harris is going to slot in very nicely in the linebacking core with the New York Jets. And the Jets really, once again, they will be probably addressing corner as well, but I think that can wait. They wanted to get a special defender in Christian Harris here at number six. Now at number seven, we have the New York Giants. I think it actually could be very beneficial if they look along that defensive line. They're really building something. I think overall they're doing a nice job with their overall roster construction. I think you could really enhance that by getting a guy like DeMarvin Leal, a guy that's very very talented against the run. I think the New York Giants are going to become really tough, and especially since they could have potentially two top 10 picks in the entire draft. I think that's a great building block. It really depends on what happens with Chicago this season. At number eight, we have the Atlanta Falcons. Atlanta has been looking to address that edge spot for a long time. I think they are once again going to try for that. Drake Jackson from USC makes a lot of sense here. They've just had some issues ever since the whole Vic Beasley thing, Tack McKinley. There's been kind of a revolving door there at that edge spot. Drake Jackson slots in very nicely for this Falcons team. Now at number 9, we have the Denver Broncos. And Denver, they're doing a pretty good job as well. I think a spot they definitely can improve on is that tackle position. I think that Evan Neal actually is the best fit for this team. You have Bulls on one side, you have Neal on the other side. That's a really formidable front. You have Lloyd Cushenberry, you have also Dalton Reisner. That offensive line's coming together very nicely for the Denver Broncos. I think Evan Neal is a really good addition to that team. Now at number 10, we have the New York Giants once again. And for the Giants, I think it's about improving up front too to help protect Daniel Jones. They've been trying to do that, continuously progress and get him offensive linemen. I think a guy that actually makes a ton of sense here, Kenyon Green, the guard who could also probably play center at the next level, but probably best suited to be a guard when he makes it to the NFL. I think the New York Giants are doing a really nice job here. You're able to kind of balance it out with your picks. You go the trenches on both sides, so the ball, defense and offense of line. So really good pick here. And at number 11, we have the Washington football team. They are going to address the quarterback position. Malik Willis from Liberty. He has been a high riser. This is a guy that was not even a thought to be an NFL draft pick to all of a sudden first round consideration. And he's all the way up here at number 11. Really good selection for the Washington football team. I think Willis will actually slot in. There's not a lot of pressure on him. The defense is so good there. And hopefully, they're able to get some more weapons around him. They have Curtis Samuel. They have Terry McLaurin as well. Overall, that offense could look really scary in a couple of years. Definitely getting a guy like Malik Willis goes a long way in doing so. At number 12, we have the Las Vegas Raiders. Las Vegas is at an interesting point. They kind of shook up their entire offensive line. We'll see how that works. So we'll kind of give that a year to figure out and see if that's a need here at number 12. But I think they're going to get a dynamic playmaker here in Chris Olave. And if you remember with Olave, it was thought that he was going to come out this year. He was going to be likely a first round pick. He opts to stay in college, but that very well could be beneficial to him as he ends up at number 12. And now at 13, we have the Carolina Panthers. The Carolina Panthers, overall, they really addressed the defense 2 years ago in the draft, in the Derek Brown draft. And now they have to refocus on the offense a little bit. Obviously, they have Sam Darnold. You're going to want to get him a true tight end. I think Jalen Whitemeyer is going to be, is going to be a really good selection from Texas A&M. Once again, you see a couple of Texas A&M products come out the board early in the draft, but this is a good pick. They have to make sure. I don't think Ian Thomas or Dan Arnold are the actual long-term solutions at the tight end position, but I think that overall, you want to make sure that you're giving Sam Darnold all the tools that he didn't have in New York. So you go ahead and give him a tight end 1 here at number 13. At 14, we have the Minnesota Vikings. Minnesota, they like to take defensive ends for sure. I think they're going to actually try to improve that offense even more. They've really put a lot of focus into that offensive line. They obviously took Christian Darrisaw. Now at 14, though, I think that they stick with wide receiver, and you form the big three of Wilson, Justin Jefferson, and Thielen. That is going to be a terrific trio. Irv Smith at the tight end position. There's a lot to like about what they could be potentially building in Minnesota with the Garrett Wilson selection. At 15, we have the Arizona Cardinals. Arizona definitely has a couple of interesting places that they have to address. I think in particular, the offensive line is where they should look. Charles Cross from Mississippi State makes too much sense to me. A guy that can play tackle, but if it doesn't really work out there, he can't kick into guard. But I think he is best suited to be an offensive tackle, and that's what hopefully Arizona would be drafting him for at 15. I think he's just best suited to play on the outside, but if need be, he can kick inside. At 16, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers, and Pittsburgh, they're ultimately going to be looking to replace that offensive line. Zion Nelson from Miami is definitely going to be the pick. They let a couple of guys go. Villanueva is gone already, which is kind of tough for them. DeCastro's injury, it really complicates a lot of different things. So they're going to have to rebuild that offensive line once again. I think Zion Nelson's probably the best fit in Pittsburgh. At number 17, we have the Patriots. The Patriots have done some nice things for their offense. They ended up signing Nelson Aguilar. They also signed Hunter Henry. There's so much. Jonnu Smith is another name that they signed as well in free agency. But I think once again, they have to look at that wide receiver spot and deem that as a need. N'Keal Harry is requesting a trade. I think you come right back to Treylon Burks from Arkansas, absolute stud for the University of Arkansas. There's so much to like about his game. I think he is for sure a first round receiver at year's end. But with the New England Patriots, it's kind of tough because you have to keep improving that offense and you have to be ready to go when Mac Jones steps on the field. At number 18, we have the LA Chargers. The Chargers, they didn't really do a ton to address the edge rushing. Obviously, you have Joey Bosa, but you also have to be prepared. Melvin Ingram did not come back. I'm kind of waiting for that news to break. Maybe there will be a reunion, maybe not. But this is the position where you go Zach Harrison. The Chargers do a really nice job generally at getting after the quarterback. Zach Harrison slots in with the Chargers. I think that makes a lot of sense for this team. But ultimately, if you are the Chargers, you have to make sure that you are able to get after the quarterback. At number 19, we have the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas is kind of in a position. It was really, really interesting that they took Micah Parsons this past year. I thought that was still a good move, definitely. Something's going to break. I think one of the linebackers is going to go. That might be Leighton Vander Esch. I'm not sure which one of them for money reasons. They've done a really nice job acquiring talent, but now having to pay them is kind of difficult. So they actually go to the cornerback spot. I think Kaiir Elam from Florida is going to be the pick. They want to keep improving that secondary. You already have Trayvon Diggs as a building block. Now you come back with Elam. I love the fit with the Dallas Cowboys. At 20, we have the Philadelphia Eagles. If you remember right away, we took Stingley with their pick. So now they're going to come back and they will actually be looking to stick in the secondary. Anthony Harris is on the 1-year deal. You come back with Jordan Battle from Alabama. Philadelphia is doing a really nice job in this draft, improving what is probably their weakest spot on their team, and that's their secondary. And they do a really nice job by grabbing two absolute studs with their selections in the first round. At 21, we have the Tennessee Titans. Now, the Titans kind of sit here, and they are looking potentially at edge. I think it's hard to really not go George Karlaftis, from Purdue. I think that ultimately, if you are the Tennessee Titans, you want to look to keep improving up front. Definitely something you have to consider when there's been a little bit of a revolving door at that edge spot, but I think he slots in nicely with Harold Landry at 21. Good value here as well. At 22, we have the Indianapolis Colts. And now you're kind of looking at probably that corner spot. We don't know really what it's going to be like for Xavier Rhodes in the future. Ahmad Gardner is going to be the selection from Cincinnati. Could be a true man guy at the next level. But for the Indianapolis Colts, you have to protect yourself. What happens? What's plan B if Xavier Rhodes is not around? So that's going to be their kind of contingency plan. At 23, we have the New York Jets. The New York Jets, interesting position. Once again, you have to look at that cornerback spot. Andrew Booth Jr. is going to be the pick. Now, the reason for that, the New York Jets have done a nice job acquiring talent. I think they need to continue that at the cornerback spot, one of their weakest positions that still do remain. Overall, wonderful job this offseason and, kind of addressing the weaker areas of their team. Andrew Booth Jr. at 23, I love it. At 24, we have the New Orleans Saints. I think it's hard for them not to go quarterback. Desmond Ridder from Cincinnati is going to be the pick just because, they have to have a plan at quarterback. Since he did a wonderful job this year at Cincinnati, he was a big reason why they were so successful. And for the New Orleans Saints, you have Jameis Winston, you have Taysom Hill. There's really not, if you want to rely on maybe Ian Book developing, I just don't see that happening. I think that this is a nice pick for them, kind of a low risk, a guy that ends up kind of falling into their lap at 24. At 25, we have the Cleveland Browns. Cleveland is definitely going to have to look at replacing Jadeveon Clowney if he does not play well and they don't bring him back. Obviously, for this season, they wouldn't need him. but you have to consider those things. I think Sanders from Cincinnati, once again, we're going to have my J Sanders is that edge that definitely slots in for them. I think that ultimately you got to have a guy opposite of Jadeveon Clowney. We've been preaching that in our mock draft videos from last year. I think it's going to have to happen this year, though. Sanders at 25 makes too much sense to me. And then at 26, this is when it kind of gets interesting. Isaiah Spiller is still sitting out there. I think the Miami Dolphins really like what Myles Gaskins bring to the team, but I think ultimately they could get a little more dynamic with Isaiah Spiller, and that is going to be the pick. That's possible that they don't do it, but we heard some whispers that they might be looking at running back this past season. Ultimately, they did not do that, and now they go Spiller here, who once again, good value at 26. At 27, we have the Baltimore Ravens. The Baltimore Ravens are, we don't know what's going to happen with Calais Campbell. I think Kingsley Enagbare, is going to be the pick from South Carolina. Definitely have to consider this with the whole Calais Campbell news about possible retirement. I kind of like for Baltimore to really make sure that they're solid up front. That's something that they always do a nice job of, making sure that their front seven is really strong. And this pick would definitely help that. At 28, we have the Detroit Lions. Now, the Detroit Lions have to look at wide receiver, in my opinion. Drake London is the guy you could pair with Spencer Rattler, and they could have a really nice long career together. And if you are Detroit, you have to have some weapons ready to go. Obviously, that you have the running back and the tight end in place, but now you come back with Drake London. At 29, we have Rasheed Walker being the pick. Just considering Green Bay is ultimately looking at that tackle spot, you could replace Billy Turner long-term with a guy like Rasheed Walker. I think he steps in day one and is an impact starter for the Green Bay Packers. At 30, we have the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo's kind of in a position where they want to look on the interior of their defensive line. I definitely think that it makes sense to go Perry and Winfrey. Obviously, I think that's, they have an interesting dynamic on their team. I was trying to look at the safety spot. That didn't make sense. They're too good there. I think, maybe if they win corner possibly, but I think Perry and Winfrey is the best overall fit for the Buffalo Bills. Now you have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They're going to want to protect Tom Brady and then, eventually Kyle Trask when he becomes their quarterback. I think Tyler Linderbaum is a really good fit from Iowa. He can play guard. He can play center. There's some versatility there with him. And ultimately, you can replace Alex Kappa at that guard spot with a guy like Linderbaum. And then finally at 32, we have the Kansas City Chiefs. I think Aiden Hutchinson slots in nicely. We don't know what's going to happen with Frank Clark. Obviously, there's some legal issues going on, but Aiden Hutchinson seems to be the best fit for me for the Kansas City Chiefs. I just wanted to say thank you for tuning in. It's mock draft season, so subscribe and also hit that like button if you did enjoy the content. And we can't wait to see you guys in our next video.